Tuesday, March 28th, 2017. I am Dan Rubin. This is the Bucknuts Morning 5 and Change, coming to you from a gray Gem City, but what else is new? Joined, as always, on Tuesdays by Duane Long. Duane, how is Columbus?
It's foggy and gray. It's Columbus. At least we got spring coming early this year.
If you say so. I'll believe it when I see it. Here's what I do believe. The people came up with some great questions. Duane put a thread up last night on the Front Row Premium Message Board asking for questions we can answer to kind of run today's show. It's the off season. There's plenty to talk about. Sometimes this lets us get a better sense of what the people want to talk about. So we're going to bounce around here. We've looked over all the questions. I try and take as many as we can within reason. If your question is not answered, it will be either addressed on the message board later today or we'll pop it on next week's show. So here we go. Here it goes. Dan Rubin often likes to use the term meritocracy when discussing the Meyer tenure here so far. One bad buck personally believes Meyer has a seniority rules favorites play above talented yet less experienced underclassmen. Do you think that's the way things have been established, or do you think it's more like trestle ball when your more veteran types would be around?
Well, I think that you have to play the veterans. I mean, Dan, you can't just skip over guys and say, oh, this guy's more talented, I'm going to throw him in there. There's two things to that. One, the veteran knows the team, knows the playbook, knows what's going on. He's been drilling for longer. He's probably been in games. Just throwing some freshman out there because he's talented it's not necessarily the best thing. People are more familiar with each other. They've been practicing together. So there's that aspect. Plus, you've got to keep your locker room. You've got to be the guy that they got to want to play for you. And if you're just skipping over people, just saying, okay, this veteran, you're going to play in mop-up duty now. We're going with the younger guy. That's gonna hurt morale. And I don't think fans think about that sometimes. The guys just say, well, he's better and I'm getting demoted and that's all there is to it. Let's go team. And that's just not the way it works. And think about what that does to other guys. They've gone to war with this guy. They've been in the weight room with this guy. They've been through workouts with him. They've tough times and, they know him. If he's at least a teammate, maybe a friend, and seeing him get demoted for some guy they don't know who has not been in the trenches with them, that impacts morale. You can't just throw guys to the wolves like that and expect to keep your locker room a place that you've got a good spirit in that room. So just keep those things in mind when you're throw the younger guy in there. Yeah, I think you need to work in the more talented kid. He's got to earn it on the field. And that means you got to give him a chance to. He's got to do it in practice, and then when you put him in games, he's got to come through. That makes it a whole lot easier to take a more veteran guy and sit him. So just think about there's more to it than just that he's more talented.
Yeah, to me, it's a trust factor. At this point in time, I trust this staff, put the best guys in there. I'm not sure I felt the same way by the end of the Bowmanish tenure. Speaking of Bowman, we're going to go offensive line here. It's a question from B. Diggity. Duane, I really like Maurice Washington from California. Do you think he'll be a member of this class? Do you think he'll be a member of this class? Besides Jackson Carman, who are the other elite offensive linemen you would like to see part of this group? I hope one would be Jamari Sawyer. He's the Wyatt Davis of this class. What's your vibe?
I like Washington. I just don't know where he fits. I was actually just watching his film yesterday, and he's a great-looking athlete. He's just that kind of in-between thing where he's like 6 foot and 175 pounds, and I didn't see a kid that, is definitely going to add more weight, doesn't necessarily have the bigger frame. I don't know if he's going to be able to get to 200 pounds. Does he fit as a as a wing back. Do we move him outside? I don't know. I could see us taking him. He's definitely a great-looking athlete. I just don't know where he fits. That's what I think you have to do with him, is bring him in as an athlete and see where his body takes him. As far as the offensive line is concerned, there's a number of candidates out there. The first one I got to bring up is, I think it's Badara Traore, the junior college kid. He's a bookend for Jackson Carman. He's just the guy that can play the right side and just he moves people. Definitely want to get him in this class. I want to see at least 3 tackles. At least 3. I would take 4. You've got Jalen Duncan. He's a kid from Maryland I really like, and he seems to be very high on us. And a kid that has not been offered yet, but I think he will be, and I think we jump to the top of his list when we do, is Kadir White. He is a New Jersey kid or New York kid. I don't remember exactly, but he's a nice looking tackle. He doesn't have any technique. He needs a lot of work, but there's just so much potential there. Really like him. Now, I'd love to add Richard Garage or Nicholas Petit-Frere. I don't know. That just seems like it's fading. I don't know if we're going to be able to get those guys out of Florida. I hope we could pull one of them. I would take them no matter what, either one of those two. As far as Salyer's concerned, he's a massive kid. He really is the Wyatt Davis of this class. If he wants to come, you got to take him. He moves people. He's a huge kid, and he just impressed at the the opening regional. He was the offensive line MVP. So those are the guys at the top of my list right now. I like where we are with Duncan, with Traore, and Kadir White if we offer him. So there's a kid named Campbell. I'm trying to remember his first name, out of Texas, that is very impressive. Huge kid, 6'7", 336 pounds. I was looking at him. He doesn't have any extra weight on him. I mean, seeing him in t-shirt and shorts. Just how a kid could be that huge and not be carrying much extra. It's pretty impressive, and he knocks people down too. He's a very good football player. I'd like to see us get in on him. He says warm for Ohio State, so we'll see.
I will say it again. There's nobody better on the offensive line when it comes to breaking down than Duane. You would think that would be enough, yet there's more. From Turf Greens, we're going to mix it up a little bit here. Duane, this is a common question we've gotten on the boards, which is why I've gone to it. Who is a bigger threat to Ohio State next year and the next few years for that matter, Michigan or Penn State?
I say without any hesitation, Penn State. Michigan lost so much, and they weren't the most talented team out there. And they were a senior laden team, and people poke fun at him constantly, but Jim Harbaugh can coach, and they executed well. Came into our place and really gave us a hard time. Took us to overtime. Excuse me. But they were so senior heavy. I think Penn State's a team to worry about the next year, maybe 2. Then it'll probably go back to being Michigan. Because, they're having much better recruiting classes under Harbaugh than they did under Brady, what's his name. So I think right now, Penn State. I don't, Michigan's going to be a tough game, though, going up there. Because they think they can beat us. They think they were a better team this past season, and that's not going to change. Their fan base, and I would say their locker room is going to say, we'll just reload. I think that's the way they'll look at it. So they're going to give us a tough game up there, but the better team is Penn State.
There's a question here from B. Henson. What is the airspeed velocity of an unladen swallow? Good question, but really, Duane and I really have spent most of our time on laden swallows, so we're going to pass on that one. So we're going to move on to this from SoCal Buck. This should get people talking or not. How short of a leash should JT Barrett be on?
How short? I think here's what it should be. It should be based on how much faith they have in their backup quarterbacks. That should be the answer. But we can go back to 2015 and say that you look at Cardell Jones. What did he stay in there? 7 games when the offense was sputtering. So I mean, they didn't pull the trigger then. Are they going to now? Is it different? We got a different coaching situation. Is that going to affect it? It should not be that. You got a senior. It's not like you've got to invest in him for the future. So, if things aren't going well, it's time to change. Looking forward, put in one of the younger guys. Whichever one wins the backup job, whether it's Burrow or Haskins. Right now, everything I'm hearing is it's going to be Burrow. Go to him. Make the change now, not at the end of the season. So it should be earlier, but history says they're going to give him more leash than the fan base is going to want him to have.
Next question from KNuds82. And this is KNuds speaking, not me. I remember you saying how important getting Cam Akers was. You said something on the lines of, we are good but not great at running back. Obviously, Cam Akers did not come here. Do you think we missed out on our chance getting a 5-star bell cow back when we missed out on him? The Ohio State brand is always high, but it seemed like last year was the cycle to do it in. Do you think it's possible they missed out on their chance to get a bell cow back?
Well, I that was what I said, and I absolutely believe that. That's almost verbatim what I said. I was so disappointed. It's the one thing in last year's class that that's, if there was anything negative about one of the great classes ever, it is that we did not get that running back that can take us to the next level. Weber's an awfully good back, better than I thought he was going to be, but he's not that guy that you can just turn around and say, here, take us home. I just don't see that in him. And Cam Akers was that back. He was the one we needed. I don't see this class as being as good as last year's class. I wouldn't put the number one guy in the top 5, maybe not even the top 8 in this class. I really like what I saw out of Brian Snead's latest film. I wasn't that excited about him off the first film that came out on him, but he's looking better. I liked what I saw on the latest film. And I really believe Taylor, excuse me, I really believe Taylor can be, I think he's a much better back. I think he's much underrated. That's the kid I want. I want to get him in this class. I think he can be, I don't think we've seen all he can be yet. I think he could be a real surprise.
Very interesting. There's some questions here about naked jaunts. I'm sorry that information is not available to the public.
Yes, those things, those decisions are, we take them and we sit down and, everybody puts their opinion in on whether a jaunt is something we want to do with a commitment, and but I make the final decisions on that. Who is on the council? We will not discuss that.
Just suffice to say, there are black robes, a lot of humming, a lot of candles. It's all very by the book. All right, last question. Obviously, there were this comes from Whiskers. Obviously, there were high expectations for Meyer when he came aboard. Is one national title in 5 years under a coach a disappointment?
No, it's not. Not at all, especially considering they've, what we've done as far, we're 61-6 in that time. And we've competed in the playoffs 2 out of the 3 years that they've had a playoff. So I just, being a contender, there are other good football teams out there. Being a contender like that, that's all you want. You want your shot. And we've had our shot. Should have had it 3 years in a row. Messed it up with, the game that the Michigan State game will always be one that stands out to me. The 2015 Michigan State game will always stand out as one of the biggest losses. There's no way we should have lost that game, and that kept us from playing 3 years in a row in the national championship playoffs. So I can't see it as anything but a complete and utter success. And we're looking at great recruiting classes, and we're competing for the national title. We won it once in the last 3 years. We competed for it again at least once, and should have competed for it the third time. So this is where you want to be.
I don't think you can argue with any of that. If you just look at the recruiting, the future is extremely bright. It's a Meyer-Saban world. I've said it ad nauseum. I'm just glad we're on one side of it. We appreciate Duane stopping by and speaking to the people. If your question was not asked, he will get to it on the boards. Have a good one, Bucknutters.